Turns out if you do the math about delegates and the Democratic Convention and all this kind of stuff, the only way that we are going to end up with a progressive president is if the people who support Elizabeth Warren and the people who support Bernie Sanders work together. I lay it all out here. Check this out. Leave your comments. Love to see your comments on this. Ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Over the weekend, an old friend of mine from D.C. who is way up in the Democratic National Committee, without going into a lot of detail, he is on several of the committees that will decide how the convention is run. He is a superdelegate. He will be able to vote on the second round of balloting if that happens. There hasn't been a second round of balloting, by the way, since 1952, but there might be this time. And I learned some things that I actually didn't know, and I want to share this with you. To start out, at the convention, there will be roughly 4,000 delegates, and then there's around 800 superdelegates. It's 700 and high change, 780 or thereabouts, and roughly 4,000 delegates. So if somebody's going to win on the first round, they're going to have 2,000 delegates, roughly. If they don't win on the first round, then on the second round, in come the 780 superdelegates, and of them, probably 740 of them are going to go with Biden or whoever the corporate candidate is who is at the top at that point, Buttigieg or Klobuchar, presumably. Maybe even well, it won't be Tom Steyer, but maybe Bloomberg. So one of the things that we know from all the polling that's been done is that Bernie's supporters and Elizabeth Warren's supporters do not perfectly overlap. A percentage of Bernie supporters will not vote for Warren. And best guess is it's around somewhere between 10 and 20%. In the primary. I mean, if she was president, they would vote for her in a heartbeat if she was the nominee, but they won't vote for her. Even if Bernie was to drop out. See, in the polls, what they've been doing is they've been saying, okay, who's your first pick for president? Then they say, who's your second pick? So a certain percentage of Bernie supporters, and I don't have the numbers here, but it's a significant slice, as their second choice is not Warren. It's Buttigieg, or it's Klobuchar, or it's somebody else. Gabbard. And a larger chunk, actually, of Warren voters, their second choice is not Bernie. And these are probably mostly women who were supporters of Hillary and still feel, bad feelings toward Bernie. So if either Bernie or Warren were to drop out of the race, the remaining person probably can't hit 2,000 delegates in June. So the strategy that we need to pursue is, if you're a Warren supporter, continue being a Warren supporter and fight as hard as you can. If you're a Bernie supporter, continue being a Bernie supporter and fight as hard as you can. But we also need to support each other and go into the Democratic National Convention essentially as a coalition. Not calling it that, not saying that. And then if we can get 2,000, if it looks like, well, actually it won't even look like, we'll know in June if there are 2,000 delegates for a progressive candidate, either Bernie or Liz Warren. And if there are 2,000 candidates, at that point, Bernie and Warren, between the two of them, neither one of them are going to get 2,000. I can guarantee you that. If there are 2,000, then they have to sit down like Obama and Clinton did in 2008 and say, what do you want? They have to negotiate. And if it ends up Bernie's at the top of the ticket, Warren may say, I'd like to be vice president, or hey, make me Treasury Secretary. And if it looks like Warren's going to be at the top of the ticket, Bernie may say, make me vice president, or hey, I'd like to be head of HEW. Housing and health, and I can do single-payer health care that way, or whatever. But they will have to work it out between the two of them in private, essentially. And we will end up with a nominee who is a progressive. So let me just lay that on you. This is really important stuff, that A, we don't take the CNN bait where the CNN leaked this, a woman can't win, all this BS. that we not take that bait and fight between, the Warren faction and the Sanders faction, that we remain united as progressives.